Makoba, speaking to my colleague there, Duduzile Ramela. Well, I'm going to tell you about another special person as we continue to celebrate World Teachers Day. We look at a new project now started by young teachers in Cape Town. Molo Mhlaba is South Africa's first Pan-African private school for girls based in Khayelitsha, a township facing increasing crime, inequality and poverty. Access to good quality education is one of the challenges in that particular area. Well, Molo Mhlaba seeks to resolve that particular issue. The bilingual school teaches pupils in isiXhosa and English. Now, to discuss the school and what inspired teachers to start it, we're now joined by one of its co-founders, who is Athambile Masola. Ms. Masola, thank you very much for your time. So what inspired you to start this project, Molo Mhlaba?
Well, it came out of an after-school program that we were doing called Tope Foundation, where we had started working with grade 6 and 7 primary school girls, and they really needed input in science and maths and initiatives around STEM on Saturdays, but we felt that that wasn't enough. And sustainably, that just didn't make sense, that you only get them for 2-3 years and then you send them off. So for us, it was, what is a long-term vision for that kind of education? And so starting a school made sense. We would essentially have the girls with us from day one and kind of groom them and take them through this envisioned program that we have as a primary school. So it largely just came out of a need also just to say we can have quality education in Lokshini. We can have quality education run by black people in our communities.
Private education.
Well, it's a low-fee private school. So yes, I mean, that's also part of the vision, is that we can start our own things. And if it means we start private initially and explore what kind of models are available, then definitely.
Where did you get the funding?
We get it from various funding. So right now we have funding with a few initiatives, but also private funders, donors. And we also have a sponsor a child program. So if people want to sponsor a child for the entire year, they can do that. And so it's a cocktail of funding at the moment, because the point is to start, because we know what the funding is like in the NGO space. You either need a lot of money or you can't start at all. So we started with what we have.
When you established this school, something must have driven you about that community of Khayelitsha. What were some of those issues that you found compelling enough for you to say, I'm going to stand up and try and establish this?
So I don't know if you remember, a few months ago, there was an article that came out about the level of sexual violence that's happening in schools. I don't know if you remember last year, it happened in Soweto, where statistics are coming out that young girls are not safe in schools. So that was the first thing for us, is that if we know that statistics are saying young girls are unsafe in schools, and it's partly at the hands of teachers, but also partly at the hands of peers, what does a child's education look like? And so that was one of the things, is that we want to create a safe school for the girls. The second part of it was just a quality education. It's not good enough that we know that children are being turned out at grade 4 level, at grade 7 level, without the necessary skills that they have. And so for us, those are the two major things, but also just saying these are the least of these. These are the people we don't consider in our system. And so what would it mean to give them the best from day one?
And today being World Teachers Day, talk to me about the quality of teachers that you have had to employ to teach in this Molo Mhlaba project. First of all, what kind of quality did you find, or did you source them from private schools to then bring them into that township space?
So we found teachers that we'd already started working with at the after-school program as Tope Foundation, and some of them had been volunteers and kind of been student teachers, so they were studying through other services. So we got them as, while they're sort of in-service teachers, pre-service teachers, to say that this is something that they can develop. Because the thing with waiting for teachers is that they need to be in the job quite early on. So we've got young teachers who are still learning, who are eager to learn, who haven't got well-established, rooted ways of doing things. Because we know that the longer teachers teach, the more difficult it is for them to change their practice. So we've got people who are malleable, who are keen to learn, and who are also keen to learn within community. So for us, our teachers are the kind of people who meet regularly in community of practices with NGO sectors, with other trainers. So we got people who are still a work in progress, and we believe that that is important, because for professional development to actually happen, teachers need to be lifelong learners.
Talk to us about the impact of Molo Mhlaba and the kind of results it's borne thus far?
Well, it's year one at the moment, and we've got 35 girls. We've got a long waiting list, so we know that there's a need for it in the community. We're in conversation with exploring avenues for growth, and we haven't struggled in terms of getting people to see what we're doing and taking us seriously. And so the impact has been happy, flourishing young girls from a young age who are exposed to science experiments from a young age, who are curious about the world, who are curious about reading, who are curious about languages.
What I'm curious about is your assessment of the teaching environment in 2018. You're a former teacher yourself. In fact, I'm interested to know, you're a very young person, but you're already a former teacher. What else is it that you're doing? But importantly, your assessment of the teaching environment right now in 2018. You have all manner of things happening in schools, particularly, I think, the public school environment.
Yeah, it's a very fraught environment. I think we also need to appreciate that we've got three sectors of our education system. And within the public school system, we've still got education for the poor and education for the wealthier. So it's a very stratified and unequal system that we have, unfortunately. And so when we look at the education of those who are getting the least quality, large classrooms, time on task, that we just don't have enough time on task because of the logistics of being in a large classroom, the fact that children fall through the cracks because they don't have sufficient support, the fact that there's violence in schools and there's violence in the communities, and then children bring that into the school and the consequences that it has for learning.
Do you find that?
Oh, absolutely.
In many cases of that, children who are abused at home or in their social environment, they bring that in school?
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, that's part of the challenge, is that then in a school, do we have the right kind of teachers who know how to deal with that? Do we have the support of school psychologists who know how to deal with that? And more often than not, we don't. I mean, I taught in a school in Cape Town where there was a young man who brought a knife to school. And in my naivety at the time, I was there trying to separate a fight. And it was a knee-jerk reaction, but I only realized later that that was the context that we're in. And so those are some of the things, is that sometimes we are in danger. And this is not to be alarmist, but we're starting to hear about even how teachers themselves are now in danger at the hands of students. So the aspect of violence is something that we haven't quite unpacked, and the influence that it has for what it happens in the classroom, and the influence that it has on who are the teachers. Are our teachers now supposed to be security guards? Do they have the skills of first aid and mass control of groups of young people, especially in the high school space? And I think for the younger children, just the psychosocial, building that resilience, building the muscle to be able to kind of see themselves in the future in spite of the duress that they find themselves in. So teachers have got a lot of work to do. So
finally, ambitions that you have for Molo Mhlaba, that project that you're running. What are your ambitions? Do you want to grow it, and do you want, assistance? This is the platform for you to canvas that and see if you can actually grow it to whatever lengths that you want it to.
We definitely want assistance. The more the merrier. We want a team of people to partner with us. We want to grow. We want to see Dumela Lifadzi. We want to see Sawubona Mhlaba. We want to see Molo Mhlaba in the Eastern Cape. We believe that it's something that can roll across and provide a real model for what quality education looks like in rural areas and in township areas, and that it's something that we as Black people can do for ourselves. So yeah, we're definitely looking for support, and people can find us on our website and Instagram and all those
What
pages.
Are those details?
On Instagram at Molo Mhlaba, Twitter at Molo Mhlaba, and our website at molomhlaba.co.za.
Athambile Masola, thank you very much for your time. She is the co-founder of the Molo Mhlaba project that they're currently running out of Cape Town, in particular the township of Khayelitsha.